Hello there, you're watching and listening to another Scoutcast from www.fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, and my name is Mark.
My name's Jonty.
My name's Andy.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's just the three of us tonight, nice and cosy. I like saying cosy and warm, but it's not, it's freezing. But yes, just the three of us. Granville and Luke cannot make it, so it's a streamlined version of the Scoutcast, Jonty.
Yes, it is, yeah. We had Granville lined up, but he couldn't make it, and then Luke, and then he couldn't make it, so a succession of that. But we're all here.
Not to worry. We'll make it up for it in quality, if not quantity, or at least try. I don't know why I said that, really. What are we going to cover? We're going to cover rough and smooth. Our game weeks were it was a bit meh, wasn't it, this game week 22? But we'll do our best to go over that. We've got rough and smooth, the community as well. And then we're going to look at double game weeks and blanks and a certain article by Jarvis this week. We're going to pick that apart, Jonty, aren't we, and go through that. And look at what we know, what we don't know, the known knowns, the known unknowns, and the unknown known unknowns. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. And we need to be thinking about this, definitely.
Do we? Okay.
Yes. Good planning.
I've got a headache already trying to thinking about it. We're going to check in with Chelsea and Spurs. Hazard warning. Hazard's going to be going for a lot of us, including me. And formations, formation dancing, as I like to call it at the moment. It seems like there's a shift again. I went 3-5-2 a few weeks ago. I'm now looking at it again, particularly in the light of Hazard, and thinking I may need to shift again. And that kind of links in with the blanks and the double game weeks, doesn't it, Jonty? Jonty's nodding away there.
It does.
So we're going to check in with that as well. But we'll start with our game weeks. Luke had the best score amongst us with 66, but he's not here to take his glory. So we're not going to give him his moment in the sun. So I'm going to come to you, Andy, next, because you scored 57. Not bad. A certain Chris Brunt.
Yeah, Chris Brunt, again, his home form is just ridiculous. Whether he's playing left back or in the midfield, he's scoring points. I think he's got 2 assists and a goal now in the 2 games at left back. So if Neon plays or Evans is back, it doesn't seem to matter. As long as he's playing at home, he's the real deal at the moment. So yeah, he did really well for me. 57, not a great score, but the way the game week went, I was pretty happy with that. Because obviously jammed a bit with Sanchez. That was very jammy. Last minute penalty. I was watching it on a bit of a delay, and one of my mates said there's a penalty. So I was raging that Giroud was off the pitch, and then I thought, hang on a second, Ozil's off the pitch as well at this point. So yeah, Sanchez stepped up with a cheeky dink through the middle. So I was loving that. Yeah, no one really did anything for me.
That was Granville. One of the reasons I think Granville's not on it, he was very, very upset about.
Yeah, he wasn't happy with that at all. Another lucky Sanchez goal because he captained Hazard, didn't he? I think so. Yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare week. At 57, I was very happy with another green arrow, so I can't complain at this point. Pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Brunt is 3 goals and 3 assists. All of them come at the Hawthorn, so all these points have come at the Hawthorns. What I did look at today, interestingly, looked at his involvement. We love a bit of an involvement stat, don't we, Jonty? 28% involvement in West Brom's goals when on the pitch. Higher than any active defender, not surprisingly, because he's not strictly a defender, is he? So very, very strong at home. Nothing on the road as yet, and they are away at Middlesbrough next, so perhaps don't get too carried away. But Brunt, brilliant signing, top of the watch list, and for good reason. You must be chuffed with him, Andy.
Yeah, really chuffed. Like I said, I've actually, because he's so cheap as well, you don't feel like you have to play him. So I've been benching him during the away games. So apart from when I played him against United at home, he got 0. But apart from that, his scores are just ridiculous. I think he's averaging like 8 points a game for me when I play him, which for 5 million is crazy.
Yeah, and he's one of the players that when we go on to formations later, he's one of the players that is making 4 at the back an option. I think because you can't think of him. It comes down to that situation that Jay Egerstaff brought up, isn't it, Jonty? About, well, you can choose these players, but that's not really the formation you're playing because they're playing out of position. And Brunt is in that kind of bracket, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like a 4th or 5th. Well, he's like playing a 5th midfielder because he's playing like a winger. Even as a left back, he's playing as a winger, and he's still got that eye for goal. The thing is, he's experienced as well. So when shots are peppering around the box, I think it was a rebound for his actual goal at the weekend. Well, that's just experience, being in the right place and just reacting very, very quickly like an experienced old pro would. That's his value. He's got so much value, but definitely that as well.
It's that left peg, isn't it?
Yeah, the other thing with him, I don't want to turn this into the Chris Brunt show, or I actually would like to do that, but we won't. The away games he's played recently are Arsenal, Tottenham and Southampton, so it's not like they've been easy. So now they've finally registered a clean sheet. I think with Middlesbrough and West Ham, in the next 2 away games, I'm fingers crossed that they can maybe start getting some away clean sheets too.
Yeah, Middlesbrough at home quite strongly. Although West Ham exposed them, but I think that was to do with Sir Andy Carroll more than anything. Let's go to Jonty next. 39 points, pretty miserable, Jonty.
Well, you say that.
What are you going to glean from that?
You say that, but you've got to think relatively in terms of the game weeks I've had this season. I've had 3 in the 20s. So the problem there is basically no West Brom defender. I mean, that was the issue really. I had most spaces covered except a Spurs attack. I got away with that. But the West Brom, so I had Evans and he was late fitness check. So I thought if he was definitely out, I would have made a move. I don't know who I would have made a move to. There's a whole bunch of defenders I could have got, but I would have made that move out there, but I didn't. I thought, let's see if he can go. Holebas might get something away at Bournemouth. In the end, he got 0.
He got a booking.
He got a booking again, and he's the assister of the assist. So, it was his free kick that got the first goal, but it wasn't him that got any fantasy points from it. So that was it, really. Yeah, so 39, average of 46. If I'd have had a Brunt or a Macaulay or a Coleman, that's it. One player gone. The other thing is, I'm not too bothered about my move was pretty good. I had an option basically. It was down to either getting rid of Benteke or Sigurdsson, and I was thinking, which one will I give another week? I was going to bench whichever one I kept. I was going to bench, so I ended up benching Sigurdsson and I got rid of Benteke, and I'm really pleased I did, because I thought, whilst I didn't think that was a great fixture for Swansea, that was a shock, I still hadn't seen enough of Clement in Swansea to fully say Swansea are going to go down. But I feel I've seen enough of Sam Allardyce with Palace to know that their one great asset, attacking play, is gone, and their one big problem of lack of clean sheets hasn't been resolved. So I'm pleased about that. I got Lukaku in. And the other thing was just, I had Sanchez captain, fantastic. He saved the day at the end. But the thing was, it was just one of those weeks where, I had Ibrahimovic, Giroud, Lallana against Swansea, you would think would get something. Phillips, Stanislas. I had all these good differentials. I had all the good other main players, Ibrahimovic especially, and they just didn't perform. But
nothing.
I don't look at that. I think previously I would have looked at that score earlier in the season and panicked and go, oh my God. But I look at that. I look at the players I've got, and still it's only really Lallana I'm thinking of getting rid of at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, Benteke, interesting. Zaha, Ivory Coast got eliminated now. So Zaha will come back. I presume he's going to come straight back into the side for game week 23. He'll be assessed. They'll all be, they've been on a different time zone for 3 or 4 weeks, so they're going to be assessed. But you've got to fancy him. The state Palace are in, and Allardyce will be desperate to get him back in the team. So it might liven Benteke up, but it's just not happening, is it? While Marco Silva's had an impact at Hull, and Clements clearly made a difference in Swansea, it's not happening for Big Sam at all, and it's strange. I thought they were clean sheets would be arriving by now. It's not happening. Benteke. So yeah, you benched Sigurdsson, which we had this debate before. Is it better to sell or to bench? I sold him, and it hurt. Didn't like it, and now lo and behold, I'm looking at him going,
you want him back now, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Well, that's what I thought I would be. That's what I didn't want. I think benching is bad, but getting rid of and then really regretting that move, that I didn't want. I was going to just give him one more week. It was really the Southampton game. I was going to see how he did on that, and then if he didn't do much, I'd get rid. But I've seen enough now. I think there's something there.
Well, the thing is, I don't doubt Sigurdsson, but I looked at it and thought, well, Liverpool, they're probably not going to get too much there. I did fancy him to get 1 goal. I thought they might, because Liverpool always find a way of conceding, don't they? Didn't expect a 3-2 win, and it was extraordinary. And then Southampton looked a tough fixture, but now Virgil van Dijk's a doubt. I look at that and think, well, Swansea could probably score in that one. Whereas before I was looking at that going, well, they're not going to get much out of that either. So a week ago, Sigurdsson being sold looked a great option for me, particularly as it meant I could get Lukaku in, and that was the priority. And I still, for me, I got 55 points. I took a hit. I didn't expect the green arrow with a hit, but the way I look at it is I didn't didn't suffer too much damage. I went down 3,000 places, which is all right. Lost ground on Torres Magic, who had a sneaky one. He had Johnny Evans, and he went to Christopher Brunt. Good transfer.
I noticed you're down to 4th now in the. So it's no longer a big rivalry with Torres Magic.
No. I did say last week they'd probably overtake us, and I took a hit. So in a way, they'd already had to. Spencer had already overtaken me. But he had an outstanding game week, Spencer. It's very tight in the Modern Comms League, which is good. It often is. It often comes down to a 2-horse race with a few weeks to go. But at the moment, no sign of that. But I've got Lukaku in, and I think that, with the home games he's got, I don't think he'll do too much at Stoke. He might nick something, but I think he's an important player for me, and he's going up in value. Although he's being sold a bit as well now. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with 55. That's not a bad game week in a hit situation. So, but Sigurdsson, we'll talk about him later on, could be coming back in. Rough with the smooth, Jonty. What have we got?
Yeah, well, a few smooths here. I mean, as I said, we said about our scores, really. I mean, anything around late 50s, 60s is actually a pretty good score this week. So, Moyne, I thought I'd give a mention. He's through to the Cup final, Fantasy Football Scout Cup final. Just got 57 points, but pretty solid. But what happened with him, it was his differentials paid off. So he had Gray, surprise goal there at Arsenal. Antonio, a bit of a few points there. And Williams, clean sheet as well. And a bonus, I believe. Shirtless, patience is a virtue. And definitely for Shirtless here. Kept hold of Firmino.
Yeah.
Carroll. Firmino, that is patient.
Yeah, what do you make of this, Firmino? Because a lot of people are saying on there, well done to the guys who kept faith in Firmino, but they had suffered one goal in 10 game weeks.
Well, I think what they should do is have a look over the last 6 or 7 game weeks, see what Firmino's points per game average is, and then not congratulate them.
Well, have a look at Ali and Ericsson. Yeah.
And then have a look at Ali and Ericsson and tell them even even Hazard's outscored Firmino in that time. So,
Yeah.
Tizza, this is good. 72 points. That's really good for this game week. Captain Sanchez, bench Carroll, so still at 72, but it was Cedric. So fine. I mean, this is another bit of patience there.
Remember
really
Cedric
stuck with him. Yeah, remember Cedric. So here's a few roughs. Slarty Bartfast. He sold Carroll for a hit for Lukaku. Long term, probably a good move.
Yeah, he'll get that back, I think.
But that's harsh to bear when you see those goals go in. I've been there selling Firmino way back, and it's not nice. Mo, this is even worse. He sold Brunt and Carroll for Baines and Krause.
What's he selling Brunt for?
I don't know. I was saying earlier before we came on air, I get some funny messages on Twitter about people making moves. Someone's saying, should I get rid of Giroud this week? No, because he's playing Watford next. Why? I don't know. But anyway, so someone thought it was a great idea. Mo thought it was a great idea to sell Brunt for some reason there. And Carroll's ponytail, Sigurdsson out for Coutinho for a hit.
Yeah, Coutinho, what do we make of that? I mean,
nice gamble, though.
60 minutes. If you were trying to make up a gap, I guess getting on Coutinho early would be a wise move. But he's probably going to drop in price, isn't he? The way he's going, he's suffering sales, and I don't know. He needs to do something quick. If he blanks next week against Chelsea, which is a good chance he will, I think he'll go down in price again, which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to mention Liverpool last week. We ran out of time, but basically the problem there that we were going to go on to was that Mane's absence is really affecting them. Lallana's not as effective, kind of covering a more forward role, which is ironic. And Coutinho is clearly, needs another game or two to sort himself out. And also their fixtures are really middling. So what have they got?
Yeah.
They got Chelsea next, then they've got a good one, then a bad one, then a good one.
But they've got 6 of 9 at home, though. I mean, it's just at the moment, I don't know what to make of them. They seem very erratic.
Well, I think they're a team that, a bit like Leicester last season. They've got a really good core, a really good kind of starting 11. This has been a problem with some teams this season, but Liverpool have got a starting 11, really, pretty much. But then one of them's gone, so one of the cogs has gone. And, the whole machinery is not working as well. It would be like, Chelsea without perhaps Conte there. It just alters. Leicester without Conte is a perfect example.
Andy, what's your views on Liverpool? I mean, we're leaving well alone at the moment, it seems. I mean, Lallana, obviously a player who's drifted in and out. Are they taking it in turns again, it seems?
Yeah, possibly. We didn't get to touch on last week, but Mane did seem to possibly be an issue. I think the people that bought Coutinho in, it was because of that Swansea game. Obviously, they gave him a bit more of a fight than they wanted to. And I think if you look at the fixtures now, I'm not convinced the money is worth being tied up in a Liverpool midfielder right now. I mean, personally, I'd like to see him again for a few more weeks and just see if they can keep it up without Mane. But even then, you're looking at like Spurs home, Leicester away, Arsenal home. So the fixtures aren't great. If you've got one, I can see a reason to keep, unless you haven't got maybe a Spurs mid. But personally, I'm not looking at bringing them in just yet. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, Coutinho, I looked at it a few weeks back and thought, well, if Hazard keeps on this form, then I'll get Coutinho in. But it's not turned out like that now. And now I'm at that game week where I thought I would be considering Coutinho, and I'm not. The one caveat is, I guess, the defence is still conceding, so you've got to think the attacking players are going to have to score goals to get results. There might be that drive, but I just don't know what it is about them at the moment. I just wonder whether they're just this wobble could go on, and whether the title bid's going to just evaporate.
I think you're right. They're going to keep scoring goals. I checked quickly. I checked like before Coutinho was out and afterwards, and they were still averaging about 2.3 goals a game. Obviously, they did score 2 against Swansea, so they are keeping that up. It's just whether or not one single one's going to keep scoring, or they're going to keep mixing it around, really. Yeah,
this is it. I mean, they've taken it in turns. Several times we thought, well, it's Firmino. No, it's Coutinho. Now it's Lallana. Oh, no, it's Mane. And we just haven't had a period where you go, right, for 10, 15 weeks, this is a player. Obviously, Coutinho was on the way to achieve that, and he got injured. But it's been a bit unfortunate. And I just wonder whether we'll ever be able to get to a point where we can go, that's the one. I'm having that one, and I can settle on it. Difficult, very difficult. Okay, community questions, Jonty. We're going to get on to double game weeks and blanks. I guess the best way of approaching this is looking at Jarvis's.
Firstly, here's some community questions on it, because this kind of puts into context. So, Kings of Leon asks, are you holding your transfers to understand transfers ahead of game week 23, to understand how the ground will lie after the weekend because of potential blank game weeks? These are game weeks in 26 and 28, and these are due to League Cup and FA Cup, which we will know much more about after matches this week. And Dingo, how can we prepare for these? And Karen 14, he's really going forward thinking, and he's looking beyond, game week 29, looking at bad fixtures.
Oh, we've lost Joe there.
Oh, he must have got bored talking about that.
That's the Somerset connection again for you. This is. The guys have gone into a lot of depth on this already, Andy, and Jarvis's article was excellent. My point of view at the moment is I'm still not at a point where I want to. There's enough there. There's enough definites there for me to start planning for this. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it's imminent. I mean, I'm looking already at, I guess, the teams who are out the FA Cup and thinking, well, these transfers now, and particularly Swansea, we're going to touch on later, are an option because they haven't got the FA Cup ties. And I'm looking at the EFL Cup final and thinking, well, you've got to think United are through, which takes City out as well, and so on. That's about the limit of my planning right now. What are you looking at with it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's only so much we can plan for at the moment, because we only know. I think there's 4 teams that are definitely going to play in 28. That's West Ham, Everton, Bournemouth, and West Brom, I think. So the way I'm looking at that is, I've got players like Morales in. I want Baines maybe in the future. I've got Brunt. So having those players, it makes me think that I'm not going to get rid of them anytime soon, because obviously they're not going to blank. I've already made my transfer this week, so I haven't been worried about it too much. But I mean, it will start to come into my thinking more and more as we go on, I'd say. Yeah,
I mean, this will go out once the EFL Cup finalists are be decided. I mean, those listening tonight, we don't know, but those listening to the cast on Thursday, the whistle would have blown on the second semi-final. So we know that situation now, and obviously I'm going to look at that, and we're going to know that blanks are going to arrive in game week 26. We don't think there's a possibility that the fixtures can stay there, so we'll know that setup is in place. And Manchester United or Hull, Liverpool or Southampton will be in the final. My money, I mean, the Southampton tie is tough to call. My money is
United. Yeah, they're ahead, aren't they, at the moment?
Yeah, so I mean, United and Man City, we know that's going to likely be off in game week 26, and we think, again, looking at where the gaps are in the schedule going forward, that 34 and 37, which were the game weeks for double game weeks in the last 2 seasons, will be the double game weeks again.
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, as a fact, from my point of view, I'd like Southampton to beat Liverpool, because Liverpool to beat Southampton, because if Southampton win, then that means Arsenal will blank as well in 26. So we'll have Ibra, Sanchez, and then, if you've got Phil Jones like me, maybe Mkhitaryan or one like that, then they're all going to blank. But I mean, you've got to remember as well, for that game week, it's only going to be 4 teams. So you do have 3 for attacking spots. You do have 3 bench spots. So it's not like it's the end of the world if they blank. It'll just be one game. It's worth considering. And obviously from now until then, you've only got 6 transfers now before the blanks in 28. So I think that's why people are starting to think about it. It's not that they're suddenly going to bring all these players in. It's that you've only got so many transfers to play with, unless you're happy to keep taking hits, basically.
Yeah, and I think we're right in saying, and Jonty's rejoined us now, I don't think we're right in saying many people are going to contemplate the wild card at this situation, because we know that 34 and 37 are likely to bring those double game weeks, and because of that, that's when bench boost in particular comes into play. So we've just, Jonty, thanks for joining us again. That was the old Somerset connection again. Was that like a
fabulous? Yeah.
Was that a dog biting through the cord again? Or?
I don't know, some cow on the line or something. I don't know.
Yeah, cow on the line as usual. Yes. We were talking about our desired finalists in the EFL Cup, and I was saying this will go out and we will know. But I think you're right. We don't want Arsenal knocked out of game week 26, because with Ibrahimovic likely to be missing, Sanchez missing as well would really, really hurt, wouldn't it, Jonty?
Yeah, I mean, you can afford to bench Ibrahimovic, definitely, but afford benching Ibrahimovic and Sanchez, well, then you're going to be tempted to get rid of one of them. And you don't really want to be doing that. So you've got to make sure your bench is strong. And then a lot of people are sitting there with not very good benches. So, that's not an ideal situation. Yeah, you definitely want.
Yeah, and we can absorb Liverpool, Leicester City, Man City, United. We can probably absorb that, because not many people on FFS have got Man City players. Leicester's been a no-go area. Liverpool, we've just spoke about, we're kind of flushing the assets out. So it's really only Ibrahimovic would be a concern. So that would be probably the desired setup, but it would all go pear-shaped a little bit if Arsenal were all dragged into that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, totally. But also you've got to look at the other fixtures there. So, who's got a good fixture. So you're going to be looking at, perhaps, Everton have a great fixture. So they're at home to Sunderland. I mean, Sunderland are probably the Premier League's worst side at the moment.
They're the new whipping boys, aren't they?
They're the new whipping boys. They've pretty much given up. I mean, they're selling Patrick Van Aanholt this week. I mean, they might as well get rid of Jermaine Defoe and put the white flag up, to be honest. They're getting rid of their second best player. And they've got in Joleon Lescott. Well, that says it all. I mean, any team that gets Joleon Lescott has given up officially.
Yeah, I saw a stat today. Joleon Lescott has made the most mistakes leading to goals in Premier League history. I think it was something like that. Something harsh like that.
Sunderland's the perfect home for him then. If he wants errors, then there you go. So you're looking at those types of sides, really. So we do need to start planning, because we do need to start thinking some teams aren't going to be available in game week 26. While I was dealing with the cow on the line, did you get to game week 28 as well?
No, we didn't. I left that especially for you.
So this is where it gets a bit more confusing, because we're talking FA Cup here, so we don't know a lot of these things. And we still won't know after this weekend, but we'll have a better idea as well. So currently, there's only 2 matches going ahead. There will obviously be more. But we know Everton are playing West Brom in game week 28. Well, that's great for a lot of fantasy football scout communities teams, because we've got our West Brom defence. We've got Lukaku, perhaps Barkley, Morales. And we know that Bournemouth is going ahead of West Ham. So Stanislas, for example, could perhaps be benchable for a few weeks as a fifth mid for the bad fixtures, and perhaps kept, because they're going to play. So these are just the kinds of things you need to be thinking about a little bit early.
The other thing here is, of course, that these assets, when the masses get wind of this, are going to increase in price. Lukaku, he's not going to have a blank, so he's not going to suffer losses. If anything, he's going to go up in value around that time. So getting on him early, and certainly Stanislas as well, booking him in is a good option, isn't it?
And then we've also got very likely to go ahead. So this is various permutations. Very likely is Hull versus Swansea. So that's also another good news, perhaps, if you've got some of those cheaper Swansea assets. And then Middlesbrough versus Sunderland, which once again, that's quite good for your bench players there. So you're quite happy to play Chambers that week, or any Middlesbrough defender that week. In fact, any of Middlesbrough,
any Middlesbrough player,
even the ball boys of Middlesbrough would score against Sunderland that week.
Or Rudy Gestede, maybe.
Even Rudy Gestede, captain. He is a Championship player, no more, no less. Even he will be getting a Premier League goal that week. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Sunderland aren't going to be the whipping boys. I want them to do all right. I mean, I like Van Aanholt as well, but if he leaves, it is a big blow to them. Yeah. And I mean, if you've got Defoe, I guess you're hoping that you're holding for that fixture. But will you? I don't know. I look at his fixtures and think maybe not. But this is interesting. I mean, just looking at what we know and what is likely as well, it's already shaping our transfers. So when when I'm looking at my transfers coming up, I look at Hazard, who we're going to talk about in a moment, and who's likely to come in for that. And I'm probably not going to get rid of Chambers. I'm probably not going to get rid of Stanislaus. Lukaku's locked in, and I'm going to be looking at Coleman and Brunt because of what we've looked at here. These teams are likely to be playing in game week 28. So by getting those players in, I'm not giving myself a problem later on. And game week 28 seems a long way away, but as Andy mentions, it creeps up on us, and 6 free transfers is perhaps not a lot to kind of do the surgery that we might need to do if we don't prepare for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think like this week I've made a transfer not even thinking about the blanks, but from now on, I won't start taking hits for players that are also going to blank, because I just think that's possibly a waste of points unless they're like a super good asset that I absolutely need. I think I'll call it on the hits probably. But yeah, hopefully after this weekend we'll know more. We'll at least know who's definitely not going to blank, hopefully. And then I think next week will probably be easier to start planning.
So is Jarvis going to update his article as we go, Jonty? Is that the plan? Because this is going to unfold gradually, isn't it?
Yeah, he's updating all the time. It's not really an article. It's a steady stream of hot topics where he's constantly got an update. He's got a spreadsheet looking at, and he's just constantly updating. So there'll be updates after the League Cup matches, and there'll be updates after this weekend. And what's quite good is he's looking at kind of percentage of likelihood of playing. And so this is really the FA Cup tie. So you pretty much know that if some appalling side from League One is playing against Chelsea, then they're going to go through that type of thing. So obviously whoever's playing against Brighton, that's curtains for them. So we know things like that. So that's quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it is very interesting. And double game weeks, I guess, we're booking them in for 34 and 37 again. That looks to be the likely windows. And I imagine a lot of FFS visitors have got their chips in hand, and wildcards will be dealt around then. Do you see a case for any wildcards being thrown in before that, Andy?
Unless your team's in really dire straits, I don't think so. I've seen a few teams get tweeted sometimes, teams of people asking about wildcards, and they're just nowhere near as bad as they think. I think they want a couple of players and they decide to wildcard, but unless you need like maybe 7 or 8 players plus, I think you probably leave it for 28, because there's going to be blanks. There might even be. Could there be further blanks? I think towards 34 maybe, or is it 28 going to be the last one? I don't know. But I remember last year we used the wildcard to also navigate blanks as well. I think.
I think 34 will be another one, because the semi-finals are 34, I believe. I believe that's the case.
Okay, but it's just last year that was the first time I've had my wildcard that late in the season, and it was so handy just to navigate those double games without having to worry about the transfers running up to that. So I think I'll leave unless something really major goes wrong. I wouldn't be using it for 28, I don't think.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of fun to come with the chips, and we had this discussion last year, and we've got one season's data to go on, and we think that the wild card and the bench boost is going to be effective. And this year, I think I look back on it last year, and I think I played it slightly wrong. I played the triple captain first, the bench boost first, triple captain last, and we had the Andy Carroll situation, didn't we, Andy? Which
it was a nightmare.
Yeah, we don't really want that again. So I think this time around I'll be playing bench boost in 37 and triple captain in 34. I think that's the way most are going to go at it. But again, we need to see how the fixtures are going to fall. It's going to be a fascinating period now, Jonty, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is where everything changed last season. It was this type of early planning that really set apart a lot of the fantasy football scout community from the vast millions that were being attracted to Fantasy Premier League. So, we predicted we would do well over that period, and we did, because we used that wild card. And I think whichever one you used it for, whether you used a wild card before using a triple captaincy for a double game week or bench boost, it's still of value there. What slightly came unstuck last season was Liverpool's Europa League. So there was a lot of rotation there, which scuppered a few plans. But there's much less European involvement from the good sides for example, Chelsea this season. So we should see a lot of that. So we should see some guaranteed heavy hitters playing. Costa definitely playing if there's a double game week there, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, if you remember, we all got rid of Spurs players, didn't we? And they had an absolute bonanza. So Kane and Ali, those who kept Kane and Ali did very well last year. We weren't amongst those, I don't believe. So, there were some lessons learned there. So we're taking those into this season. So if anything, we'd expect that we and FFS visitors would do even stronger this year because they've got 1 year experience behind them.
But last year there was a slightly unfortunate, as it was good planning, but it was also the whole use of wildcards and the chips were centred around Sanchez and Aguero having an absolutely fantastic double game week in which the Fantasy Football Scout community were using their triple captaincy chip on them. So you were coming in with like 70 or so points for each of those players. And I remember looking in my mini leagues where they'd used their wild cards before, they'd used their triple captaincy chips before. And so they were playing that player. Maybe they would get, so there was immediately a 25-point boost just from that one player. But then, of course, we were getting all that other boost as well. And I think I got about 20 points, 18 points from my bench boost, which I was pretty happy with. But once again, that was missing from. So we were seeing over a 2 or 3 game week period, we were seeing swings of about 50 to 70 points for a lot of people in the Fantasy Football Scout community. So that's why we're mentioning this now. Just start thinking about it earlier and just consider it because it is important.
Yeah, and you start looking at those around you in your mini league and going, well, they've played their wild card, they played their bench boost, and you start. I remember last season there was a guy who was top, wasn't there? And we were talking about him, and he played his wild card, he played all his chips, and I was a bit harsh. I said he's got no chance of winning it, and obviously he did drop down once the chips came into play. But it was the case, wasn't it? Because you could look above you and go, well, I'm going to catch you. There's not a lot you can do about it unless you take multiple hits and you're spot on with them. Right. You won't be able to compete with a wild card and bench boost.
So it's different. So my mini league, which is the one I spoke about last week, when I'm attempting to kind of climb up, that's a good indication. It's a fairly typical bunch of managers. They've all learned from last season. Very few of them have used those chips now. Some have used their wild cards, but a lot haven't. But that's what it is now. So you've got an even bigger percentage. So what could happen is the chips could be not as exciting for the Fantasy Football Scout community because many more managers will be fully aware of that and they would have hung on to those chips. I mean, good luck to them. That's a sensible thing to do. But if you've got 1 million doing it and not 100,000 doing it, well, then it's not as
yeah, that is a very good point. But I do think that there are degrees of planning, and yes, I think there will be a lot more people who reserve their wild cards and their chips because they've seen last year the impact that it had. And the advice is out there. We're not the only site talking about this. It's all over the web in terms of this is how you play it now because we've had that last season. But the kind of degree of planning that Jarvis has already done, that I think again there'll always be an element of hardcore strategy and tactics involved in the chips and the wild card, which wasn't meant to be the situation with them. They were meant to be a device for if anything, for the mainstream player to claw back mini league gaps, but they haven't turned out like that. They've become almost weapons for hardcore managers, haven't they?
I mean, this, as we spoke about before, I mean, my attitude to the chips is because of what happened last season. If that happens again, then we've got something boring happening. And you need to mix up the chips then, because everyone is saving those chips for the double game weeks. Everyone will plan for the double game weeks to a certain degree. Well, even if you just keep your wild card and use it the week before you use a triple captain in a double game week, even if you're not looking too far ahead, even that is a level of planning that's going to get you up the rankings. But if everyone's doing it, well, you need to look at those chips and think, well, that's boring now. Everyone's using the same time. Let's maybe have a triple captaincy and double game week chips that you've got to use before January the 1st, like the wild card. So now that's really going to mix it up. And that could be a big waste, or it could be fantastic. Because you hear these stories, so-and-so captained Chadley that week. He got triple captain Chadley that week. He got 21 points. Fantastic. Well, they don't have to worry about those double game weeks because that's the kind of score you want to be getting then. But that would be much more exciting. I think that would be more exciting anyway.
Yeah, and part of me looks at those stories and go, that will never be me because I'll never take that risk.
I'll never do that. And I should have taken. Well, looking at my team now, I'm quite happy with my team, but maybe I could mix it up and refresh it and give it a wild card. I'm not. I'm going to hang on to it. And I'm going to hang on to it because of my experience last season. If the same thing happens again, the third season that happens, I can kind of predict what's going to happen in the season. Whatever rank I'm at, I can predict what's going to happen at that stage of the season. And that needs to be addressed, I think.
And did you hanker for an exciting chip? I mean, we're never going to do that, are we?
Yeah, I don't think I'll be as excited as I was last year about having 15 double game week players and the bench boost. I think I probably overvalued the bench boost a bit last year. But yeah, I love double game weeks. Like, even if, I mean, I do agree that obviously everyone's going to, or most people are going to keep their triple captains if they can. And then in a double game week, it's going to be like any other week. It's going to be narrowed down to 2 or 3 players. So it's going to be, unless you really pluck for a differential, it's going to be quite similar. But that doesn't bother me, to be honest. I love double game weeks. Seeing those huge scores, I don't care what everyone else is doing. I just want to play them.
Yeah, I remember
it's always the best part of the season.
You always go for it, don't you? And it's good to see. I mean, and they're fantastic times on the site. The traffic is up, and everyone's online, and the Scoutcast is dominated by talk of double game weeks, and that is to come. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to happen in the next 3 or 4 weeks. And as we get nearer and nearer and nearer, we're going to be talking about them more and more and more, to the point there our heads explode with the possibilities of the 3-figure hauls that we may or may not get. We'll see. It's good times. Good times are ahead. But I agree with Jonty. I think it would be nice just once to just throw a chip away at just a random player.
Yeah, I would definitely love that, and I can see that because you've got the system already in place to have a pre-January the 1st wildcard and a post-January 1st wildcard. Just make that for all the chips. You've got all the chips. You use them once for January the 1st. Starts again. You can use them all after that. And I would say, for a game, I mean, the game is always about trying to get more points of things. I mean, the way assists are handed out in FPL is actually a good thing. Some people go, oh, I can't believe someone got an assist because it bobbled around, but his intention was to assist, but all these things. But it's great because that means that a big chunk of people who own that player get more points, and more points means more interest. So it would make sense to really up the ante on the chips and really, really bung some more in to the game, I think.
Okay, gung-ho stuff from Jonty again, which is not what we come to associate with him in seasons gone by. Swansea City, let's talk about them, Jonty.
Well, yeah, speaking of gung-ho, well, they've suddenly got a bit of swagger about them. And I mean, we saw they beat Liverpool. So Lazarus Star has asked us, has Swansea found a new lease of life? Could there be a relegation battling gem among the gems, even among their ranks? And Jack the Cat, he specifically asked about Tom Carroll, actually, about becoming a 5th midfielder in a 3-4-3. Let's remember, he's 4.2. Playing midfielder is 4.2. That is actually quite rare. So 1 start, 1 assist. That's not a bad start so far. So I had a little look at the Liverpool-Swansea game. Sigurdsson, 2 chances created. That's actually 1 behind Milner, who had 3 in that game. So he's up there with the best chance creators in that game. 3 successful crosses. So 3 crosses, all successful. It's a 100% record there. So, and he had 2 goal attempts. So he's doing a bit of everything. Llorente, perhaps unsustainable. 2 attempts, 2 goals. So let's watch that space with him. I think Sigurdsson's proven, but Llorente, let's have a look. And Carroll, 1 chance created all game. That was it.
Yeah, I mean, Llorente, 42% involvement rate in the goals when he's on the pitch, so it's strong.
It's strong.
Sigurdsson at 48.
Yeah,
so
it's clinical.
Yeah, I mean, one of those two, given what we talk about, as in Swansea won't have that FA Cup fixture, so you've got assurance there. If you get one of their assets, you can hold them through those blanks. And that's part of the reason why I'm considering Sigurdsson. And I guess those who don't go Sigurdsson, we'll look at Llorente as a 3rd striker option, I guess. Andy, your views on Swansea? I mean, you going in for Carroll? I mean, it suggests a change in formation if we do.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get Carroll as a midfielder for a 5th. If I switch to 3-4-3, which we'll talk about in a minute, he'd be the one to get if he's going to keep his place. Seemed fairly attacking when he played against Liverpool. So yeah, I think you can justify him as a 5th mid in a 3-4-3. The other 2, I think Llorente, I'm still not convinced by him. I think he's had like 4 goal attempts in the last 4 games, which isn't great. So yeah, I don't know if I'd want him as my 3rd forward. Obviously, Sigurdsson's the main man. He's always going to be the main man at Swansea. I don't know if they've done enough just yet, just by beating Liverpool, to make me think they've kind of a new team. I'd like to see a few more games, and the fixtures aren't great over the next 4, so I think I could wait. And if he isn't going to blank, then a game week 27, just before the 28 blanks, they've got really nice fixtures. So I'm going to wait. I've just got rid of Sigurdsson for a hit, which is now looking like a mistake. But yeah, might bring him back.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it though, and they have got 4. Their next 4 home games are strong-ish. I mean, it's that Southampton one that changes for them. That didn't look to be a good fixture, but if you take Van Dijk out of the team, which he may well be out of the team, then suddenly they can score against Southampton. Then they've got Leicester and Burnley at Liberty as well. And Burnley are not strong away from home. They did well at Arsenal, but Leicester at the moment are just abject. So there's possibilities there, and even City away, you've got to think they might nick something. I mean, Sigurdsson is the thing. Like you said, he's the one because he can get set pieces, and even a delivery on a free kick, you can get something from it. And I regret getting rid, but I had to in order to get Lukaku for the price he was. So I'm hoping it's a forward-thinking move that eventually pays off. But certainly at the moment, Hazard, if he goes, Sigurdsson is near the top of that list. I'm not so sure about Tom Cowell yet. That would need a change in formation, and that leads us on to the 3-5-2, doesn't it, Jonty?
Well, yeah. McQueen asks: is 3-5-2 still the way to go, or is it time for 4 at the back? Now, to be cynical, in a week where the defenders do well and a lot of midfielders and forwards don't, it's very easy to say, yeah, let's do that. But you need to look at it in general, and on the whole, your likes of Sanchez and Ibrahimovic, they are going to score more, but they cost more. But nevertheless, it is a viable tactic at the moment with so many attacking defenders. So RVP FC is, among others, asks a lot about Everton defenders. So you've got Coleman and Baines there. They both offer attacking threat, and at the moment they're both offering clean sheet opportunities. So yes, that is entirely depending on who you've got in midfield and attack. But perhaps if your team value is pretty low and you can't afford lots of heavy hitters, well then why not? I mean, they've got everything: fixtures, form, underlying stats, everything. And KTK Interesta on the same lines, really. Why aren't more people going 4-4-2? Brings up Everton again. He's also talking about Spurs. So you've got Rose and Walker behaving like wingers again, but cheap wingers, 6 million or so. You got West Brom. So you got the likes of Brunt and Macaulay, old stagers who are nipping, know what to do in the penalty box. And so yeah, I mean, there is a very strong case for having.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I'm looking at it because, I mean, one of the things about Hazard's form, and we haven't got the Coutinho option perhaps, is that there'll be money about, won't there? I mean, if people are selling Hazard, which they are, and then they're looking at, someone who around 8 million or even lower. I mean, people may even look at Zaha now, he's coming back, and, or even downgrading right the way down to Carroll. Then suddenly, you've got the funds to look at a defence which has Alonso, Rose, Coleman, Brunt. There's at least 4. I mean, that's 4 there. I haven't even mentioned Macaulay in that equation. So yeah, I think there's potential for 4 at the back now. I think there are 4 likely candidates because West Brom and Everton have the fixtures and have players who can turn attacking points. And then you're not going to get rid of Alonso. And I think the Spurs defender is definitely worth holding. So I think they will get more clean sheets. And Walker's got 6 assists, and Rose, we think. Arguably he's not the better option, but we think he's going to get more points as well. So I think there's a case for 4 at the back, definitely, and it's something that I'm looking at rather than going 3 up front.
Well, I mean, this is what Alnair asks us with Sanchez being the only expensive standout midfield option. Is it time to invest again up top? So he's looking at the much more expensive, but Ibrahimovic, Kane, Lukaku, and Costa. So yeah, I mean, you have got 4 very strong options there, getting 3 in, and Lukaku is just below that 10 million mark. So he is affordable especially if you've got a strong team value at the moment. So what I did last week, I looked at a particular team, and a team that I thought was doing well, and this is quite good really because it shows you kind of what's happening and what the good players might be doing. And this guy calls Oggy Nolan, and he has been playing 3-5-2 for ages. He's got 105 million, but he's 56 in the world, so he's doing very well. He's top of our members league as well. He's a great example of 3-5-2. So he's got Eriksen, Ali, Hazard, Sigurdsson. He's got Morales, who's got a few differentials there. He's got Kane, Ibrahimovic up top. and he's got a really great backline of Brunt.
So he's got to 56 in the world without Sanchez, who's been...
No, exactly. So I'm looking at his team now. So he's got a choice there. He's got, I think, we're going to come to Hazard, but if he wants to improve his side a little bit more, Hazard's obviously a very expensive weak link there. He captained Hazard, got him 6 points. If he'd have had Sanchez, he'd have more and perhaps be higher. And when you're 56 in the world, every point is going to count. So he could go Hazard to Sanchez with a bit of jiggery pokery elsewhere and stick to 3-5-2, or he has a choice now. He's got Diamonde as his third striker that he's not playing, so he could move Hazard to perhaps a Tom Carroll or a cheap non-playing or cheap playing rather midfielder, and then perhaps get Lukaku in. So he's suddenly got a much better option looking at form and fixtures than Hazard over the next 4 or 5. So I just use that as an example because there's a lot of people who 3-5-2, not doing as well as him, but nevertheless 3-5-2, who are in that situation now, and they've got Hazard and they're starting to think, which do I go? And this is a real crunch week, I think. Do they stick with 3-5-2? Do they go 4 at the back? Or do they go 3-4-3? And it's going to be a real season-changing decision.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree. And I'm in a very similar situation because I've got an Achibi who's been, he's out for 12 weeks now. So at least I'm settled on the fact that that's a blow to me, really, because I looked at it and thought he could be a rotation option with Stanislas maybe. But that's not there now. So I've got to replace him, really. That kind of makes up my mind that I've got to spend a bit more up front. So if I do get rid of Hazard, while I'd like to invest in my backline, I think the likelihood, I don't know if I can go into the blanks with carrying Anachibi. I probably can't. So it's tough for me. I want to go Hazard to Sigurdsson and then get Coleman in and get a similar defence to this guy. He's got Brunt, Alonso and Baines. I'd like to have Alonso, Rose and Coleman. I think that's a really powerful back three. You're going to play them every week for the next 5 or 6 weeks and you should get points at both ends. But I don't know if I can with Anachibi sitting there on a red flag. Difficult. But it is. I agree with you, Jonty. I think this is a pivotal couple of weeks now. So much to take in. Andy, what's your views on your formation? Are you settled on it?
I've only just kind of in the last couple of weeks switched to 3-5-2, but I am already potentially looking at switching back. I'm looking at my team, for example, and I've got, say, Mkhitaryan at nearly 9 million and a cheap forward. And I could easily switch that around and have the cheap midfielder in there and have Lukaku up front. So I think before, when there was Ali, Ericsson, Sanchez, Hazard, then maybe a Liverpool mid or Sigurdsson, it was quite a good idea to have 5 there, but I don't know if that's there now. The 3 main midfielders I want is Sanchez, Ericsson and Ali. After that, there's no one. I've got Mkhitaryan, but he's just someone I'm potentially being stubborn with at this point. Whereas up front, I've got Giroud. I'm quite happy with him for now. Ibra, I'd love Kane. Costa's an option again. And Lukaku looks really good. So there's 5 strikers I want. And given that I don't have Aguero in my team taking up all those funds, I think that's possible to get 3 of those now. It just depends how many transfers it's going to take to go back to that for your team. For me, I've just got rid of Hazard. So if Mkhitaryan blanks again, he could easily be Tom Carroll and I can just get a striker in. So it's something I'm looking at. 4 at the back, if you compare a 6 million defender to a 6 million midfielder, I think then yes, the defender looks really good. The only thing is in defence, you can get the 4.5 million defender that's going to get you a clean sheet and get those 6 points. And you can rotate them around.
Can you?
Well, I don't know. Maybe not 4.5. You got Chambers, Middlesbrough's doing okay. Jones is 4.8. He's got Hull, Watford in the next 3, I think. Whereas you don't have that in midfield, I don't think. You're not going to want to play Tom Carroll every week. Whereas in defence, you can rotate your defenders. And Chris Brunt got him for 4.9. So I can see the temptation to do that in defence. I just think I don't know how long that's going to last, and then we'll want to switch them all back again and. It's just loads of transfers. So
I think we've seen this season the 3-4-3 phase out gradually. Now we're at a turning point again where 4 at the back's an option. Probably 3-4-3 is coming back in. Because like you said, I look at my midfield, I've got Ali, Ericsson and Sanchez. I've got those 3. And then I'm kind of struggling because we're not getting Hazard and we're not getting Coutinho. And I thought by now those 2 would be sitting there as a must-have, and then we got the 5, and then that's it. We're set on it, and Anachibi, Crouch, Barnes, or whatever up front. But that's not happening, and I don't know whether we need to give it more time or whether we can afford to. Let's talk about Eden Hazard, Jonty, because he's at the crux of this, isn't he?
Well, yeah. So Tizzaras having gone for 3 Chelsea players being essential. Now we're just down to let's just keep 1 defender, perhaps, and then Wolf Franian basically keep or move Hazard. So, I mean, we've seen what Hazard did against Hull. He did nothing. He did nothing against Hull at home. Now, that is quite important because we kind of expect him to not do well away. He's the kind of creator of chances. But we expect him to do much better at home against terrible sides. Hull put up a bit of a fight, but Costa got on the score sheet. The defenders got on the score sheet, but Hazard didn't. I've got a table called Can't Hit a Barn Door, which I constructed when Ibrahimovic had his goal drought.
Yes,
I wanted to better understand why he was not scoring because he was racking in the goal attempts. So currently on the Can't Hit a Barn Door, I just had a quick look at it. It's just 2 people on it, Hazard and Antonio. Now, part of the problem is the number of bad touches. So this is what Opta are calling a bad touch. So Hazard's had 9 of them over the last 4.
Yeah, his
Antonio
first
10.
touch is ropey, isn't it?
So immediately the first touch is ropey.
That's strange, isn't it?
It's ropier. So he's a slick, wonderful player, but he's not at the moment. So his bad touch. So bear in mind, he wasn't before. So the times I've looked in on this table, this is a real surprise to see him there. And he's had 3 big chances. He's missed a lot. So this is what Ibrahimovic does. I mean, good news is Ibrahimovic came out of it. He's getting the chances. He's just fluffing them. Ibrahimovic did the same. Eventually it clicked about game week 11. But by then it was 6-7 game weeks of frustration, which is what Hazard owners are going through at the moment.
Yeah.
For me, I got rid of 3 weeks ago because I knew his away form wasn't good as a fantasy asset. And I didn't think... And I was worried about Hull, but it was the only game I was worried about. And I didn't feel it was worth getting him in for 1 game.
Yeah, I've got to say,
we
gave Harry Maguire bad press, or I did personally. I'd like to apologise to Harry Maguire, who will be listening, I no doubt. He was outstanding. He was outstanding in that game, and he gave Hazard no room at all. And at times I watched the match, Hazard got the ball, he's back to goal, and Maguire just went right through him, and he's a monster back there. Yeah. So Hull played very well. I was very impressed and very well.
Yeah, I mean the stats tell that story, and that's what it is. The FPL points tell that story as well against Hazard. We do have so many other options. I mean, even within Chelsea, so many people are trying to get Costa back in now. But as he was when I had Costa in as well, Costa is the most consistent. He's going to get you points most weeks, and Hazard isn't. So it is time to go. And it goes back to all of what we've been talking about before, about formation changes. If you've got a 5-man midfielder and Hazard in it, you get rid of him. You now have a choice because you can upgrade. You can do a straight swap, 4.5 midfielder, boom, Lukaku in, or Giroud in, or Kane in. Those types of things can be possible now.
I looked at it, Jonty, and tantalisingly, Hazard to Carroll and Achibi to Costa, I can't do it by 0.1.
Do you really think that Costa's a better option than Hazard? Like, he's that much of a better option? Because I'm looking at his scores now over the last, say, 5 or 6 game weeks, and I can't do the maths on the fly so quick, but they look pretty close given that Hazard's got a 10 in there. I think points per game. I mean, Costa, he's going to score maybe every week, but Hazard will score.
But this is what it's not necessarily is he good points per game. It's a case of each week he's going to get you a goal or an assist or both. So as a fantasy manager, especially the way the market is this season, it's ridiculous. You've got millions of people just transferring people in and out at the drop of a hat. So they're going to keep him. And then with Hazard, they're like, right, I've had enough. So it's not even a question of is he better or not. It's a question of within the structure of the game and the transfer market, is he perceived as better? And yes, Costa is perceived as being miles better at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've absorbed 1 loss. I'm in 2 minds whether I'll do it this week. I've been stung by a Sigurdsson, got rid of him, and I just think, well, they've got Liverpool away, and they will have to score there, I think, to win that game. And why won't they want to win that game? I mean, Liverpool are vulnerable at the moment, if anything. So I don't know. I know it's away from home. Hazard doesn't do it, but he's a horrible player, isn't he? He's one of those players that you don't easily get rid of because you know the talent he's got and you know he can hurt.
Okay, I mean, I looked over the last 4 game weeks, and I mean, this says it all, really. 1 shot on target in 4 game weeks. 10 million plus player.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
That's just not good enough. It's not good enough. Costa, 6 shots on target. That's good. Bearing in mind he's only had 3 starts at that period.
I'm probably going to go the entire season without having Diego Costa. I think that's somewhere I signed a contract to that effect, so I don't think I can do anything about that. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Should we do the weekend preview, Jonty? Let's move on to that and see where we're going with our clean sheets and our fancy on risks.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to go first. Why not?
Go ahead.
I think that. Let me think. Looking at this, I'm going to go on a limb and say Bournemouth are going to get one because Palace without Zaha. I don't think Zaha. I believe Zaha may be back very soon.
Yeah, I mean,
African Cup of Nations, but I don't think he's going to be ready for Saturday. Sorry, he's not going to be ready for the next game week next week. Maybe, but Palace under Sam Allardyce is not looking very good. So I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to say Bournemouth are going to reverse their fairly poor defensive record at home recently and get a clean sheet there.
Andy, your first clean sheet?
Yeah, I actually have Bournemouth written down as well. I think they'll do all right there. I'll just take one of the boring ones, I think. Actually, no, I think Burnley against Leicester. I think Tom Heaton has a clean sheet and no doubt some bonus points to go along with it. That's what I'm hoping for. Don't think Leicester got much about them at the moment. Obviously, like Zaha, Mahrez will be back, Slimani. Whether that's going to make a difference, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I've got to say, I mean, Leicester are so poor, and we'll get on to my fancy on a risk in a moment. But yeah, I mean, Burnley at home so strong as well. You got to fancy him. It's difficult, isn't it, for clean sheet? I kind of want to say Swansea, but I guess I've got to say, Sunderland, Spurs. You're looking at that and thinking that's a clean sheet. But Man United, Hull as well.
Arsenal against Watford.
That looks a banker, and Arsenal, Watford. So there's a couple of real bankers there. I've got to go Arsenal, Watford. I can't see Watford scoring in that game. I think they got 4 goals in the last 6 game weeks. I know they got 2 at Bournemouth, but I don't think that Arsenal are as fragile on set pieces as Bournemouth are. Arsenal have improved in that area. Mustafi's back. Bellerin should be back in the team. So I think Arsenal are the banker there, but I think there's a few. I think there's a few about, and I do wonder whether Swansea can shut Southampton out because Southampton's goal threat, and they will go into that game off the back of 2 cup ties, and Swansea won't. So there's going to be a big difference in the fatigue levels there. That's why I think Swansea are a good bet for game week 23, and which is why if I do get Hazard out, it'll be Gylfi perhaps coming back in. Fancy on a wrist, Jonty, who you gone for?
I've gone for Mkhitaryan. Now, I couldn't go for the one I was going to get based on my goals imminent table because Andy's nabbed him, but more about that. So I'm going to go for my assists imminent table. Mkhitaryan is very, very due to assist some goals, and he's got Hull at home, so I think he's quite a good bet. 11 chances created in the last 4, but no assists, so that's pretty high. I think he's due.
Yeah, Holo, don't underestimate Mr. Maguire. Andy, you got to be glad to hear that Jonty's back in Mkhitaryan. You're holding him, I guess, for this week.
Yeah, I bought him in the week after Ali scored his first brace. Someone told me to get Ali, and I stuck with Man United, and yeah, that's not gone well. But he has been a bit unlucky. There's some poor finishing going on in that United team. There has been all season, but he is due, that guy, for some points. So yeah, I'm happy to hear that. And Jonty has had some good.
Yeah, he's had a good run.
So yeah, that was good to hear. Mine is Aaron Ramsey. So he started the last 3 games for Arsenal. I think he'll carry on now. Xhaka's going to be suspended. I think 3 games is he out for?
He's got 4.
4, yeah. So he's going to be out. He's only second to Sanchez for goal attempts in the last 3 as well. He's right out there, same as De Bruyne, but more in the box, I think. So yeah, I think he could be a good pick.
Yeah, good choice. Ramsey's a player who Jonty's got very fond memories of, me not so much. A few seasons back, never really done it for a couple of seasons, and bit of a waste, isn't it, really? Because he can really produce goals, assists, get in the box, and we'll see if he can end the season strongly. I'm going to go Andre Gray. Again, I mentioned Burnley at home to Leicester. I just think Andre Gray's got 5 goals in 5. Okay, one of that includes the hat-trick, but you wouldn't put him past him to get a couple against Leicester's defence at the moment. They are all at sea, it seems. So, and Burnley's home form is going to keep them up. So I'm going to go Andre Gray as my fancy island wrist there. Let's go on to transfers and captains. Jonty, to you first.
Well, it's between Sanchez and Ibrahimovic. They're both bankers.
For your transfer, you're going to get rid of one of those 2.
Yeah, I'm going to get rid of one of them. Yeah, they're hopeless. Yeah, I'm going to play the transfer market. I don't want to miss out on that 0.1 Costa rise.
No, absolutely.
So so what I'm going to captain one of them because they've got the fixture and the form. over the last 4. Weak links, I've got Lallana. I could do with a defender. I'm missing Spurs. Now, I got away with it against Man City, but I have no Spurs cover against Sunderland. So I'm looking at Lallana to Ali, I think.
Yeah.
I think that looks the sensible move.
Not going to favour Ericsson then over Ali?
Well, I might change my mind. But at the moment, looking at it, I mean, Ali is the goal. So, I mean, looking at it in terms of, I mean, still goals mean prizes. So, shots on target last 4. You got Harry Kane up there, as you would expect. But you got Ali as well just behind him. And Eriksen's only 1 shot on target. But Eriksen's getting those chances created and he's getting those assists. So it's a question that I don't know. Ali's more exciting, basically. He's playing at home. I said Sunderland is Ali territory.
You did say.
I ought to back that up and hope for the best.
You did indeed say that, and if anything, it's getting more like Ali territory because Derboji could be suspended. We don't know. I mean, Kone could. I mean, it looks like they're going to have to wheel Kone out. He's coming. He's flying back from Gabon, and he's got no choice. He's going to have to get out there whether he's knackered or not.
Ali against Jolyon Lescott. I mean, well,
let's not Jolyon. I don't think he's going to start in that game. I think it'll be a while before we see him in a Sunderland shirt. Maybe
he might have to if they. They're down on the troops.
Maybe a John O'Shea Lescott defence against Kane and Ali.
Dele Alli. Wow.
Yeah, no, I you know what? I'm looking at it and going, captaincy. If I wanted to take a risk, Eriksen or Ali would be the one I would go to. I've got both, haven't I? And they have been tonking teams away from home, haven't they?
I would if I were you, because you've got to do something different.
Well, I don't think it's at action stations yet. I'm still in the top 10k. I'm all right.
Yeah, no, not in terms of it's all right. But that's my attitude usually most seasons, not this season. But I'm in the top 10k. It doesn't matter. But you have an attitude of I want to get into the top 100.
Yeah, no, I know. And I've been aggressive in transfer.
If you want to do that, you've got to do that kind of move. You can't just get the 2 most expensive, 2 most well-owned players.
No, and Ibra and Sanchez leap out at you, don't you? But I'm not going to go Ibra at home to Hull. I've seen enough of Hull to think that, and they've got a dress rehearsal again against them, haven't they? In the cup. I don't know. I think Hull have faced Ibra enough to know how to deal with him, and so I don't think it's Ibra. I think it's Sanchez at home to Watford. Though he's so tough because Sanchez is finding a way, and I don't think Wenger's going to take him off until the 98th minute because he's frightened of what he'll do. He's frightened he's going to sulk on the bench, and then he's going to get another round of awkward questions. So Sanchez is there to the 90th minute and beyond, and Arsenal are scoring a lot of goals in the last few minutes. So Watford resistance it's tough to avoid Sanchez, but I'd like to think I'd have the balls to go Ali or Eriksen. We will see come Tuesday evening. I was going to say Saturday morning, but of course it isn't. My transfer Hazard out, I guess, and possibly to Sigurdsson because I do fancy Swansea at home to Southampton, and that's just whether or not I'm going to bank the transfer. This
is one of those moments I really wish Granville was here because he played Sigurdsson, and just the thought of you getting rid of Sigurdsson, then getting him back again that's Granville territory.
It's allowed.
I'm not going to say it, but if he was here, he would definitely mock.
The thing is, I'm getting him back one cheaper as well, so I've kind of done all right out of it.
Fine by me. I'll just say that's Granville territory.
Oh no, I can hear him grumbling in the background now. Not that he's outside the shed or anything, but yeah, I know he'd be rumbling about this. So yeah, that's my captain and transfers. At the moment, it's play safe Sanchez. Might take a risk on Ali or Eriksen. And Hazard to Sigurdsson, I guess. Andy, what are you up to?
Yeah, so last week I got rid of Sigurdsson for Morales, and I obviously regret that now. I think I regretted it a bit at the time. And this week I've got rid of Hazard for Ali. And I'm kind of regretting that because I think in 4 game weeks, I know that's quite a while away, Chelsea have some pretty nice fixtures, so I might want Hazard back. And the reason I've got rid of him is because I'm holding on to Mkhitaryan, so I could be a mistake. I could have got rid of Mkhitaryan for a Spurs mid, but Ali is in, Hazard's out. I've got 3.1 in the bank now. So could potentially take a hit and get Eriksen in for Morales, or even Kane, Costa, or Lukaku for Giroud. But Giroud's got Watford, so I think I'm gonna hold there. And then captaincy, I'm kind of the same as you. I don't think I'll have the balls to go Ali, even though there's almost no reason not to. Sunderland are rubbish and Spurs are playing great. So it's between Sanchez and Ibrahimovic, and when it's been close the last couple of weeks, I've gone for the midfielder for the extra points in clean sheet and goal. So right now it's on Sanchez, and that's probably where it'll be unless I decide to go Ali, I think.
Sanchez is killing the captaincy conundrum, isn't he? Because we're all too scared of all he can do, and he's been incredibly consistent.
It's a bit worrying with not worrying maybe with Giroud on the pitch. He doesn't seem to be scoring as many points. It seems to be when he's going off. I think he's maybe assisted once, scored once possibly, but last couple of games is when he's gone off. Obviously, if Giroud had been on the pitch the last game, he would have taken the penalty. So yeah, but I think he's the man for me.
25 shots though in those 3 home games. In every single one of the home games where Giroud's played up front, Sanchez has had the most shots in the game week.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch the game at the weekend. I don't know how many of them were in the box. He seems to be shooting quite all right. There was one really good, nice chance, which should have got on target. But I wasn't generally impressed with him at the weekend. But that's not going to stop me captaining him.
No, I know what you mean, but it's scary, isn't he? Sanchez is too scary at the moment, and I don't know if it's going to keep us from going differentials.
Yeah.
We will see.
Yeah, he's clearly. I think he's the best player this season, and I think he is of Suarez, Ronaldo proportions in terms of a fantasy asset because he's so consistent, and then he can get those 20-point returns or those 15-point returns some weeks. So I think he's up there. I think we'll see by the end of the season, but I think we'll see this as Sanchez's season.
Yeah, I think it is because I think those around him just have had blips. I mean, even Costa had that. We saw that absentee at Leicester. All the other heavy hitters have had periods where you couldn't rely on them. Kane's let us down as well. Ibrahimovic is the exception, but then he had that 6th game week. So I think everyone, you look at it and think, well, they've had a period where they've let us down. Sanchez, I guess, did have a minor blip before he went crazy when but I just don't see it. He's been fantastic. So far and away the top scoring asset at the moment, and it's going to be tough to see anyone toppling him. Certainly doesn't appear it's going to be Hazard, does it? Despite what I said about 10 weeks ago. A bit of news, FanDuel stuff. Let's talk about that. I came 105th in the FanDuel Social League. All right, for first week. We've got 3 more weeks to go in there. Did you do okay, Joe? Do you remember?
I came 100th, so 5 places above you. I know,
it was
close.
tight.
And it was tight. Well, it was one of those weeks where the players you expected to do well didn't. I didn't have like Firmino in that particular one. I did play another FanDuel game which had Firmino in, which was good.
I had Lukaku and Rondon up front, a total of 13 points, not very good at all. So my forwards in. But Tadic came in, differential Tadic, and he comes in, first goal in 10, put him in spot differential, and he got rather fortunate with a penalty, but we'll take it. More news. We're trying to approach the Scoutcast differently. We've been testing a few things behind the scenes. Andy's been very kindly helping me out. That could still be a few weeks away. There's still a lot of tinkering and testing to do. Although, if you're about Friday night or maybe the weekend, you might see some unofficial streams from us as we continue our testing. Intriguing stuff. So keep them peeled for midnight streams where Andy and myself might be talking deliriously about nonsense, which... not to say the last hour hasn't been nonsense, of course. Okay, thanks very much for joining us. It's been a great cast. Thank you very much, Jonty and Andy, for your input. It's a good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night all.